Welcome to the Everyday Executive Woman, casual chats about real life as a woman and leader. The podcast where senior level women leaders share real life stories, struggles, and strategies to thrive personally and professionally. I'm your host, well woman executive coach, and brain rewiring expert, Lisa Michelle Smith. Join me for casual and candid conversations, relatable insights, and actionable guidance that will inspire and empower you to lead confidently, live healthily, and embrace your perfectly imperfect self. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you back here for the podcast. And I am really pleased to be able to share our guest with you this morning, Dona Overstreet. And Dona is the president and CEO of Security Storage and Van of Norfolk. And she's been with the company for 24 years, and the company has a 111-year history of moving families in Hampton Roads. That's pretty impressive. With her help, they've expanded to international moving as well. A native of Hampton Roads, Virginia, she graduated from ODU with a bachelor's in business. She's active in a lot of different nonprofit organizations, both community-oriented and business-oriented. And in 2023, she was the recipient of the Women in Business Achievement Award. On a personal note, Dona has been riding and showing horses since she was a child. She has a daughter and son-in-law and 4 grandchildren that she adores and gets to spend a lot of time with. And so I'm really excited to have her share a little bit more. She's got a lot of very interesting things in her life. So I'm looking forward to having you share more about that, Dona. So why don't you start off with just telling us about your role at Allied, and what are some of the kind of typical things that your role is doing within the company?
Well, Lisa, as you know, I'm president of the company, and it's a small family-owned company. Now, when I say a small company, it certainly, to me, it feels like a very large company because we take care of a lot of employees and their families. But working for a small company, you have a lot of different roles. I'm not just president of the company, but I am also risk management of the company, do the accounting portion, healthcare, all the insurance. So it's one of those that you just have to have a lot of different hats. In fact, I came in early today and I thought, if I can find a shovel, I'll probably help clear off the walkways as well. So, like I said,
snowstorm.
Yep, you do everything that you have to do when you work for a company of this size.
Right. And so what would you say is some of the major things that you're doing on a regular basis within the company?
Well, right now, because I am 1 year away from stepping down from being president of the company, I've gotten really politically involved in what we call a general households contract. And so I've been working reluctantly, or not reluctantly, endlessly on this project, along with the Virginia Movers Warehouse Association and the American Trucking Association, reaching out to our Congress people, marching on the Hill. So that's kind of, even though I've got my day-to-day business of doing surveys for seniors, that's one of my specialties, is working with seniors on downsizing. I have also been advocating with the government right now because they've chosen a single source, a monopoly that will handle all of the Department of Defense's moves, and it's been a failure, a big failure. So I think we're making some headway now on getting Congress's attention on addressing this issue. It's costing our taxpayers billions of dollars right now. Wow. And of course, with our new president, all we got to do is get hold of the Doji.
Yeah, a lot going on there. So that's really, really interesting that you're tapped into that process and trying to make some changes there. About how many people do you oversee or lead, Dona?
Right now, we probably have right around 50 people. As we gear up for what we call our peak season, which is when the people's children are out of school, everybody wants to move in June, July, and August.
Mhm.
And I'll probably get up to around 85 people then. And thank goodness during the summer, you won't see any trucks on my lot, seldom, because they're all out servicing different people that are moving, members, military members, as well as what we call COD and people who are also traveling internationally.
Right. So it sounds like you have some permanent team members, but you also have transitional ones that you're working with.
That is that is correct, Lisa. We have two big contracts that go 12 months out of the year. So it helps us to keep our people employed, our key employees employed throughout the year with a decent salary. During the summer, we're picking up a lot of casual type workers, no different than anybody who's in a seasonal business.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what are some of the challenges you find with working with a transitional workforce?
The biggest challenge we have is the people who are here all the time. When we bring in new people, they don't like to work with the new people because they're not trained as well as they are. And so we really try to focus on making sure before we put anybody on the street that we've kept them here. We have a training room and we've kept them here and do training for at least 2 weeks before we start putting them on crews. Obviously, we put one new person with, three seasoned people so that they can learn even, more quickly when they're on the street as well. Um, we've got a pretty secure company. We have cameras throughout our facility, so we can pretty much tell everything going on. If there's any mishaps, we can, back up the cameras. The same thing with all of our trucks. We have cameras in all of our trucks, so we can watch the truck literally going down the street. And then, of course, if anything happens, it will alert us. So we have certain things that are set. So if somebody looks down, it's all AI, by the way.
I
So
was
it
going to ask
knows
about
it
that.
knows who's driving the truck, and if they look down at their phone, it knows that they're looking at their phone, and it sends us an alert. And so we track all of that. And if the people who don't get, alerts during the month, we actually bonus them out for safe driving.
Hmm,
We want to be sure that when our trucks are on the road, they're safe.
that sounds great. How easy do you feel it was for the company to embrace this new kind of technology?
Lisa, I put uh, trackers in our trucks probably 16 years ago. And at that time, though, we didn't have the AI type technology or the cameras. It was just telling you where the truck was at all times. And so the first day that I put them in, I had trucks that were stopping at restaurants and different places like that. And I'd call them up and say, hey, what are you doing? And that one day it was a little chaotic. After that, everybody was like, went to and did the jobs like they're supposed to, arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning at somebody's house, not at 8:30.
Hmm.
So they really have gotten used to it, and the AI technology has really saved them a lot of times. If they have been involved in a car accident and the one person says, hey, it was our truck driver's fault, our truck
Yeah,
driver says it's not his fault, we pull the camera up and immediately can determine who was responsible. And it has saved them many times.
that's great. So it sounds like there has been a lot of great benefits
Yeah.
from you embracing technology and being able to track and review things, what the camera sees, right? There's
What the
evidence
camera
of
sees
that.
at all times. Mhm.
Yeah, I imagine there you notice more efficiency um, from getting started with the trackers in the truck, et cetera.
We've done quite a few things over the last 10 years that have improved efficiency. When I first started with this company almost 24 years ago, I can remember during the summer that we would work till 9, 10 o'clock every night, get up, come back in here at 7:30, and that was pretty much 7 days a week this summer. Exhausting.
Yeah,
We stopped paying our employees by the hour. We now pay them by the hundredweight. And then we have the technology in our trucks. It's seldom that we stay here past 7 o'clock now.
wow, that's
And and actually we are producing more work than we have in the past, but we're getting it done in a short amount of time.
That's great. So great lesson there, right? About embracing technology to improve your processes and the, work-life balance for your people.
And when we started paying them by the hundredweight, um, we expressed to them that they're their own destination on how much they got paid per hour. Naturally, we have to be sure that we're in the guidelines of the government minimum pay, but I don't have anybody making less than, 17, $18 an hour. And we do track the hours to make sure that the math is working right, that they are getting paid properly. Most of my people, because they are their own destiny on how quickly they get the job done, um, they're making $25 to $40 an hour. Uh, but I also make them responsible for their claims. So they can't go into a house like a bull in a china shop and start moving too fast. If they damage anything, they're responsible. So our claims have gone down in the last 10 years too. We have very little claims.
Well, sounds like a good strategy.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what are some of your philosophies or um, ideologies around leading other people and being a good leader?
I treat everybody like they're my family. And I can tell you all of my employees, if they have any issues on paying their water bill, their phone bill, or whatever, uh, we take care of them. And, we make them a loan, make them whole. I had a couple of people last year that were homeless. I went down, got a hotel room for them for 2 weeks to get them back on their feet. The company paid for it to allow them to get enough money to put a deposit down on another apartment. That's a common thing that happens around here on a weekly basis.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
So I would imagine that you have a pretty high retention rate for your employees.
we do. A lot of our employees, I've got a driver that stayed with us for 55 years. And he drove most of that time. And then I had a woman that did my international shipments that was with us for 47 years.
Mm.
So I would say that once the people come on board with us, most people don't leave. You get your few that just don't really quite fit and they just keep searching for something better. But for the most part, a lot of our employees have a lot of longevity here.
Well, that's great. Um, yeah, because turnover can really play a lot of havoc for a company. So finding ways to keep your employees, longer and making sure that they're happy is one of those keys to um, making sure that your company is successful. Um, you know,
I agree. And we are members of SHRM, which is the Hampton Roads Human Resource.
right.
And so we attend those meetings monthly and we learn a lot. I mean, even though I've been managing people for, you know, almost 50 years, I still learn something new. And so if I always tell them, if we can the managers go to these meetings and we come back with one thing that, we've learned, it was a positive for us that day. And so we're always, looking for better ways to keep good relationships with our employees.
Great. And so I'm curious, what would you say you like most about the role that you're in right now? What do you get from it? How does it fulfill you? Even though you said that you're going to be retiring in about a year from the company, what is it that's made you stay there so long and that you most enjoy about doing this work?
Well, first of all, my first two jobs, I was with Fortune 500 companies. I started off with Ford Motor Company as an accountant for them. And then I worked for a company called Beverly Enterprises, which was the largest in the nation for nursing homes. I was at their headquarters as a manager there. And those are great companies because you got legal departments, you have tax departments, you have all kinds of resources. And then I went to work for a family-owned business, and there's a world of difference between a family-owned business and a corporate business because you really are part of the family. The other thing that I like is that we're dealing with other families every day, usually 20 to 25 people that we're moving a day. And you get to know these people and their dog and their children. It's very rewarding, and especially at the end of the day when they said, "Hey, you did a great job." The same thing with all of my employees. I get to know them really well too. I'm a people person, so I enjoy working around people. Even though I'm stepping down in a year, I am going to stay into a sales position because I do enjoy everybody that I meet.
Ah, that's great. So tell us, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Tell us what a typical day looks like for you, starting in the morning. How, early do you get up and get your day going? And what does that look like from waking up in the morning and then any kind of morning routine, and then starting your work day, and then how you're winding down. So share with our listeners what is your kind of routine that helps you to start and end your day well.
I'm an early bird, so I get up anywhere from 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I try to put in a walk in the morning before I come to work. It makes me feel like a champion before I even get my day started. Once I get into the office, I always have plans on how my day is going to go, but that changes every day. I'll have people coming in constantly because I am stepping down and I am training two new people. So I get a lot of interruptions during the day. So I find myself, if I want to get something done, I'll come in on a Saturday for a few hours. And I feel like 2 hours working on a Saturday is equivalent to working 8 hours in the office because you know how it is. If you have an interruption, it takes you a little time
Right.
to get back started to your task.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Uh, and then how do you set boundaries for, when your workday is over and then it's your time? What do you do to make sure that you're not carrying work, you know, into your personal life and evening?
I don't really set boundaries, but I do set social time with my friends and family. And probably at least 4 nights a week that I meet somebody for a snack and a beverage. And then on Saturdays, I try to take my grandchildren every Saturday. They spend the night with me. So those are kind of my wind down times. Um, there are times in the morning when I need to do some catch up. I'll come in. Today I came in early and did some work because I could work by myself today.
Right. And would you be willing to share with our other executive women listeners about what are some current struggles, either at work or personal life, that you're, you know, finding some ways to try to work through? What are some typical challenges that show up for you?
Probably the biggest challenge that I have is trying to find that work balance, because I am a little bit of what I would call a workaholic. And a typical week for me is 50 hours a week. In the summertime, I'm probably running about 60 to 65 hours a week. It's too much for anybody because you're not as efficient when you're starting to get tired. And I find that. And then more as I get older, it becomes more difficult. So it's a matter of letting go. That's my big thing is I am a control freak. So it's letting go and letting somebody else do it and trust somebody else to do it just as good as you would do it.
Yeah. Um, so thanks for sharing about that. Can you tell us about a challenge that you face in either your personal or your work life that um, that you had to find resources to be able to manage, to work through, and to get to the other side of it?
I can't think of anything right now. I am working on a big project that's moving the Coast Guard 470 offices. And so and it has to be done in 3 days. So it's really making sure that I could put a good staff together to get it done in 3 days. And, and it has to be done in 3 days. So it's like, do we try to run two shifts or are we going to run one shift with a lot of people? And which means I have to have more management there to keep that in control. So
Mhm.
that's one of the challenges. Another large challenge that we've got in this area is that we are in a major port here, and there's a new ocean carrier that has just started February the 1st called Gemini. And Gemini is a combination of Maersk shipping, which I'm sure you've heard of, and also Hapag Lloyd. Between the two ocean carriers, they represent 22% of the ocean in the world. And with this merger, they are going to eliminate three ports, Charleston, Savannah, and Jacksonville, and bring everything to Norfolk. And they're also everything's going to be outbound for Norfolk if it's going to Europe. So that's going to be a huge challenge for us. I mean, we had challenges last year when the bridge in Baltimore was hit, that this port was inundated. And now to eliminate three other ports, that we're going to have a ton of work here. So it's very good for our economy that this is going to happen, but there's no more resources today than there was last year when the Baltimore Bridge was hit. So that's going to be challenging on how we're going to be able to handle those extra tonnage that'll be coming into this port, and we'll be doing the distribution to the other states.
Okay. So your company uses the shipping
Yes,
uh,
we do.
uh,
We do. And we'll be responsible for getting a lot of this stuff moved when it's coming in, especially with the household goods.
um so again, shifting kind of gears to the more personal, can you tell us about one of the organizations or nonprofits that you work with that you um, enjoy contributing your time and your talents to?
Probably the one that I enjoy the most would be EquiKids. EquiKids and EquiVets. It's a nice barn out in Virginia Beach, right off of, you're probably familiar with the
Yeah, I
property.
am familiar. They do
Yes.
great work there.
And I do whatever they need for me to do. But a horse leader, when you're getting that horse ready and that child comes in that's taken a lesson, and these are all handicapped children, one way or another, physically or mentally, um, their faces when they see that horse come in. It makes my whole day, no matter what happened during the day, a race immediately. And I think this 1 hour that I'm spending with this child, and I'm making such a difference in their lives. That's the most rewarding thing that I do.
Yeah, I can
Mhm.
just imagine it. And I
Yeah.
love horses as well. I've loved them and ridden a little bit when I was younger. So I totally get that, that connection that can be between a human and a horse.
Yeah.
It's just
But
amazing. They're just amazing creatures.
they are. And it's amazing something so large can be so calming.
Yeah. Um, so let's kind of we're gearing a little bit down towards the end of the interview. I'd like to ask you a couple of fun questions. So, if you could take an all expenses paid vacation to anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I'd go back to Africa and I would actually do the Serengeti on horseback.
Ooh,
That's exactly what I would do.
wow. So you said go back. So you've been there before?
I went there last January, yes, and I went on a safari there. But it was, in the typical the trucks, that kind of stuff. But they do have safaris that are by horseback, and that's what I would do. I'd do a safari by horseback. I think that's the best way to see nature.
Wow. So I'm curious, how do they protect people when they're on the horseback versus in these, trucks that have, the steel and the the windows and things?
My guess is, Lisa, that they probably feed the animals. So they're not hungry, they're not going to attack. Even when I went on the safari last year, there were signs of them feeding the animals.
Mhm.
So I would say that they're probably feeding the animals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
then, of course, they have rifles.
Yes.
Mm.
Um, and do you travel alone often, or do you usually have friends that go with you or family?
I usually travel with friends. As my right now, my family's still very young. I've got a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old. So I travel with other women most of the time. And
Mhm.
last year I did a really fun trip to Montana. We went to a dude ranch and we rode horses every day. We did shooting, we did archery,
Yeah.
just some really fun stuff. But I also enjoy Europe. I think Europe is a lovely place to go.
Hmm.
Wouldn't want to
Oh,
live.
I agree. I agree. And Italy is my favorite so far, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard about your Montana trip. You went with Ellen. She was another one of our guests, Ellen Duckworth, and yeah, you guys had a great time, I heard.
It
So
was a totally different kind of vacation, not one that you dress up.
yeah, exactly. Oh, you get dirty, right?
Yeah, you get dirty every day.
Oh, that's awesome. And then, one of the things I didn't mention in your bio, we have more of a fuller description of what you've got going on in your life in the podcast description. But you said your mom is Sioux Indian.
My mother is Sioux Indian, and my father is a white man. And because my mother was Sioux Indian, the Bureau of Indian Affairs gave me a full grant to go to college. That was not anything as far as income related. It was strictly because I'm a member of the Sioux tribe.
Hmm. That's pretty interesting. Is there are there any ways that you've found to stay connected to that part of your ancestry?
We have gone out to the reservation many, many, many times. Um, it's very poor. So after probably age about 18, 19 years old, I started telling her we were not going to stay with our relatives because they still had outhouses and no running water inside the houses. That I would only go if we could stay in a hotel. And a hotel out in South Dakota is not a very nice hotel, but it was better than staying with our relatives that had chamber pots under the bed.
Hmm. I can imagine.
Mhm.
Um, so, as we end, is there a personal motto or mantra or philosophy that you have that you live by that you maybe share with other people that that our listeners might find interesting or something that they might want to take on themselves?
Every single day I say this is going to be a great day, and I'm not going to let anybody affect me. I think we have total control on how we react to situations. And I could react in a bad way and ruin my attitude for the day, or I could say, wait a minute, what can I do to fix this? And let's move on in a positive way. Anybody that has negative energy, I don't allow them into my circle. I try to help as much as I can on suggesting readings that I do, but I am one that reads some kind of positive affirmation every single day.
Yeah. I'm curious, where do you usually go to find those?
I like to follow Alan Zimmerman. He's probably one of my most favorite ones that I follow. And I also have videos in my car. So whenever I do have that pity party moment, that's we all have, I immediately turn on my tapes and start listening to those instead of listening to music.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. That's a great practice. I tell my clients I work with a lot of executive women as well as other people trying to make improvements in their lives. And one of the things I say is go on a news fast for a while, right? And be really aware of what's in your environment. There's a saying I heard years ago that I really love is when the fish is sick, don't treat the fish, treat the water.
Yeah,
Because your environment influences your attitude and your energy and your physical well-being even. So be really mindful about your environment and make sure that you are um, building up and putting yourself in an environment that is nurturing, supportive, giving, that feeds back to you instead of takes away from you.
I totally agree, Lisa. Um, my, and of course, this is a saying that Alan Zimmerman says, but your attitude is your altitude. And I believe that. I have, naturally, I've gone to college, so I've got that success there. But I have a lot of successes in my life, but nothing like my attitude as far as the position that I carry today. I'm sure it had a lot to do with that.
And one final question for you before we end. You said you're going to be stepping down from your leadership role in the company. You're still going to be working there doing sales, but how are you anticipating spending more of the free time that you're going to have once you do that?
Well, the beauty of sales is that I can sell from anywhere. I was in Europe right before the pandemic started on a cruise. And I told the girls that I was traveling with, I said, I'm not sitting with y'all at dinner tonight. I'm going to switch tables and meet some new people. And I did. And I met somebody that just happened to be moving from California to New Jersey. And I sold that move that night. So I can sell anywhere in the world. And with AI technology, if I can't get into your house, or if you are moving from California, I can still do a survey using virtual surveys. And so that way I can still see what they have. I can discuss it with the drivers and so forth. So that I do have a lot of flexibility when I go into sales that I don't need to be in the office to do any sales. It's all done outside. My networking, I don't get any paid leads. I strictly work off networking and I get a tremendous amount of referrals.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my story. I can be anywhere and still handle my job.
And that's great. I love that, again, finding ways that we can be, work nomads. What do you plan to do with more of your personal time? Since you won't be working, the crazy hours that you have been. What's something you're really looking forward to spending more time doing or places to go?
Well, I was a member of Rotary Norfolk and Rotary International, the Norfolk chapter. And I loved Rotary and I love the things that they do. But because of being so busy at the office, and as you know, that's a weekly meeting, not a monthly meeting, and it's during the day, that I plan on going back to Rotary International. I had so many rewards from it. And then I worked on the committee that the fundraising that we did, we sent out applications to the other nonprofits and funded them. And so I worked on that committee doing that. So I see so many results on what an organization like that does. And of course, I'm going to try when I get back into Rotary of encouraging other young people because most of the organizations that I'm a member of, Rotary, the Republican Women's in Virginia Beach, are all older women, and we need younger blood. And it seems like the younger people don't get involved in nonprofits. And so that will be a goal of mine is to bring in some younger people, some younger blood.
Yeah, so that they can, because there's benefits for them of joining organizations like that, as well as benefits that you bring to the community. So I love that.
It's benefits. Yes, it is. It's benefits as far as, their resume and all that. But the most rewarding thing is when you know you're making a difference in your community.
Yeah.
That nothing
Yeah.
can make you feel better.
Well, our time has ended. It always goes so fast. You've been a fascinating guest. I've loved hearing more about you, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. So, with that, we will end today, and I look forward to seeing and hear all of you again in our next podcast. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks for joining me on the Everyday Executive Woman. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe or bookmark this channel.
leave a review, and share it with another executive woman who could use some encouragement. Remember, you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. Just be you. Until next time, keep grounded, keep growing, and keep taking care of you.